Nigel founded Solar Business Services, an award-winning and highly respected solar consultancy. The company provides business coaching for small solar companies, advises some of the world's largest solar corporations, and on strategy and conduct leading research for industry and government. Nigel is a proven blogger and enthusiastic and Nigel's going to talk about the utilisation of EVs, electric vehicles, for solar storage. Thanks, Nigel.
Thanks, everyone, and great to see so many faces here. Big crowd out there. We've got a pointer. There we go. I'm going to drive straight into it. So, quick introduction. I usually introduce myself as saying having 21 years in solar, but actually it's 21 years in solar and storage because, of course, I started out in off-grid. So now I'm moving rapidly into, in fact, I should change my name to Storage Business Services rather than Solar Business Services, because a lot of my clients now are in the space and I'm working with a lot of companies and watching the storage space move very, very fast. Got a lot of partners, a lot of companies and friends and collaborators that you can see up there that I'm working with across this space. This is what I'm going to cover today. And so I'm talking about storage, but I'm going to focus a little bit on one segment of the market, and this is where I'm going to start. One of the most interesting things to me about the storage market is it's not one market. In fact, I can already find 10 sub-segments in this market. And when you look at what products are most useful and what those products need to do and what features they need to have and all those kinds of different things, you can actually start breaking the market down into all these different segments. One of the great things about the storage market, of course, is that at the moment it's a bit of a problem. It's a problem for everyone. It's massively disruptive to the network guys. It's a problem if you want to sell it because, you know, do you wait till next year for theoretically a Tesla Powerwall to arrive, or, you know, are they going to be sold direct? There's a lot of problems with choosing the right product, working out where to go and doing what you want to do with it. I'm going to focus today on the last one, which is my favourite piece because it's to do with motorbikes. But let me talk a little bit about the market. This is some early work I've been doing on forecasting, and I've shown a few different people this graph, and actually everyone I show it to says, no, I think it's still too low, which is pretty interesting. You can see in our view there's probably about 1,000 storage systems. This is grid support storage, not off-grid. Off-grid's a whole other world, and it's a regular old off-grid market that we've had forever. But in terms of grid support storage or grid connected storage, I reckon there's about 1,000 systems easy that'll go in this year. It's hard to pin down, but I can account for at least 1,000. And of course, by 2016, 350,000 New South Wales customers who currently get a 6% feed-in tariff are going to roll off the end of that tariff. I only learned the other day there's another 35,000 in Victoria that are also going to roll off the end of a tariff. Right? That's a lot of potential customers. If you suggested, as we have here, that only 5% of them actually went, well, I probably should, you know, I'm getting free energy out of my system now, it's paid for itself several times over, what can I do? Don't want to export that energy while I'm out during the day, so they're starting to look at storage. And in fact, if you get online and look on some of the social media forums, you will see people who are already doing it. They're getting ready for 2016, they're already starting to connect systems, they're looking at different technologies that are out there. That's some big numbers. From virtually nothing a couple of years ago to 15,000 customers, I would suggest, as a minimum, that's some big sales. And when you start forecasting it out into the future with very small growth rates, I think 40,000, 50,000 systems a year is very, very achievable. On the right-hand side of this, you can see what is that as a percentage of the annual new sales. Okay? So we're taking a punt at as many as 15 or 20% of new customers who buy solar by 2017, 2018 will say, I'll take some storage with that. Okay? Because of the way that the market is evolving so quickly and the prices are coming down almost by the day. Those percentages are all new sales each year. They're not a percentage of the existing 1.3, 1.4 customers who are already out there. So these numbers don't reflect, the existing customer base that is out there. So, if you thought there was a boom in solar a few years ago worth a couple of bucks, watch this one go. If you want an example of how seriously the network guys are taking this, it's happening as far as they're concerned. I spoke at a conference last week in Brisbane, the Energy Users Association of Australia, and a couple of network analysts were there. So they spend their whole life looking at, you know, are the networks gouging us? Yeah. And are they gold plating their networks? Yeah. And their conclusion was, they talked about the Tesla Powerwall, of course, but they also talked about all the other products that are out there and what they're seeing, and their advice to the people sitting in that room was, it's happening, it's here now. And they're all either extremely excited or extremely nervous, depending on their perspective. Going back to EVs for a minute, here's some stats, and I won't run through them, but when you actually start looking at what's going on around the world with electric vehicles, it's quite staggering. The growth rates are enormous. It's early days, of course, in terms of the number of vehicles, but there are some countries where this is really, really starting to happen at a rapid rate of knots, and the growth rates are just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So you can see them all there, and there are literally tens of thousands of companies moving into the space. Australia, of course, like pretty much everything else in the world, we're a little bit behind in the EV space, but slowly but surely it's happening. Here's some stats for you that show the last 4 years or so of what's gone on with EV sales in Australia. 29 megawatt hours. Quite a chunk of storage out there. If you look at all the energy, pure electric vehicles that are out there, you can see the brands. You can see that some of them are actually going. For example, the iMEV is kind of exiting the market, interestingly. The Holden Volt, interestingly, started off fairly strong, but is now really declining. Of course, there's a couple of names on there like Tesla that you recognise, very small numbers. In fact, for those of you who are fans of zero electric motorbikes, you'll know there are actually more zero electric motorbikes on the road in Australia today than there are Teslas. So that's my claim to fame. BMW have just started, but of course they're ramping up, and in fact all of this is happening at a rapid rate of knots. I actually had a phone call out randomly the other day from a journalist driving around an electric vehicle in one of the new BMs. Called me up, he'd found me on a charge map, said, can I come and charge my car up at your home? And came around and did a story and charged his car up. So I think we're going to see a rapid change in this. And of course, on the back of this, we've still got the old hybrids from Toyota and Outlander, which is selling very, very well in Australia. It's rapidly changing, as I said, so you can see percentage of market sales. You'll notice the number 3 there is actually an electric motorbike, not a car that you see in the press all the time. So there's actually some pretty cool stuff going on, and again, this is going to change very, very rapidly as new models come on and the capacities come online quickly for them. Infrastructure is a thing that everyone talks about for electric vehicles. Everyone says, look, I've got range, or I'm going to have range anxiety because I can only go 100 k's or 200 k's and there's no charge stations in Australia yet, or very few. They're starting to appear, but one of the things that we got involved with is a crowd-funded charging program for electric vehicles. So what we did was we invited anyone, I invite all of you, to put your name on this map. You get to do some PR for your company, and basically you locate yourself on this public map. You can have a link to your business, and I was contacted by a Tesla owner recently who said, look, I'm going up the East Coast, I'm going all the way to Cairns, I want to drop in and share the success and get a top up if I can you help me out? And so we got on the phone, found some solar companies, and lo and behold, there's been a stream of stories coming out promoting those solar companies, solar businesses, homeowners who helped this guy drive from Brisbane to Cairns in his Tesla. So, you know, please jump on there and get on there. This kind of charging infrastructure only requires a 10 or a 20 or even 32 amp socket. And a lot of the vehicles, especially the bikes that don't have large chargers in them, you can get away with a 10 or a 20 amp socket. And that can get you from point A to point B. I've done a little bit of that touring myself. So we don't actually need sophisticated infrastructure to get going. One of the tricky things, of course, about profiling electric vehicle users is their behaviour is all different. This is some international stuff. I haven't got any Australian data on this yet, but it shows where people tend to park their vehicles. And you can see there's quite interesting distinctions there. It's part of the work that we started doing to have a look at how consumers are going to behave with electric vehicles and what they're going to do. This is some of the other work that we've been doing in the background where we're actually saying, well, this is actually my demand profile at home. The kids come home in the evening and the cooker goes on and everything peaks in the evening like a lot of homes. And you can see my solar profile over there. And what we started doing is trying to work out, well, how much I'm on time of use, how much energy do I actually need, how much stored energy do I actually need to be able to get rid of that 2 till 8 p.m. peak in my case. I'm paying 52 cents a kilowatt hour, don't really want to do that. My solar's tailing off towards the afternoon, so how am I going to solve that problem? The other thing that we've been doing, because I think electric vehicles are an interesting space, is we've been starting to say, how do we mix and match this? Can we use electric vehicles in this space, and what does it actually mean? So this is the beginning of one of our product selectors that we've got. On the left you can see there's a couple of profiles. There's a low power usage scenario and a high power usage scenario. That's the difference between a conservative rider and someone who likes to pin it to the throttle the whole time, which uses more energy, of course. And basically what you can do is you can pick a weekly usage cycle, you can pick a daily range cycle, and you can work your way across, and it'll tell you which vehicle is best suited to your needs and what kind of discharge, obviously recharge rates you're going to need. Then what we said was, well, now we've done our profile and we know how much energy we'd like to have available to pull out of that vehicle when we get home at night, because in my case I want to use that energy at home, but I also want to use that vehicle as a practical day-to-day source of transport. And whenever you talk to people about using EVs as a home storage medium, they say, well, hang on, that's not really practical because people use them during the day, and so there's not going to be any useful energy left. Well, that's not the case. That is not the case. If you're lucky enough to own one of the high-end EVs, you're going to have 60, 50, 80 kilowatt hours of energy. Even if you come down into the fun part of the world and buy an electric motorcycle, you're going to have 12, 15, perhaps even more kilowatt hours available. That's more than